Before I put the rack inside this case, I want to smooth out the inside areas of it first. And what I'm doing is I'm using a card scraper to do that. A card scraper is a wonderful tool. It's something you should learn to use. Even if you use it primitively like I am, it's a fantastic tool for doing stuff like this. Basically all I did was run it on a single uh, smooth file, and then just turn the burr with a screwdriver. And it's just, I mean, I didn't polish it or with fine stones or anything. It's just a rough little burr that just does kind of rough smoothing tasks. And all I'm doing is cleaning out any rough spots, any glue left, stuff like that. And here you see me turn around the piece. It's because I realized that I was going against the grain, which is not really that big of a deal with a card scraper if you're taking light passes, but everything just works better if you go with the grain. So I turned it around. Now I'm getting some glue out of that corner because I don't want it interfering with any kind of finish that I put on it. But a card scraper is fantastic for stuff like this. Now I need another board, and I'll tell you what this, or you'll see rather, what this board is for in a later video. But I took my number 5 plane and I've set it for a fairly heavy cut, and I'm using it like a scrub plane. It doesn't have a cambered iron like most scrub planes do, but it'll definitely hog off any rough material that I need and get the thing down to size and down. Right now what I'm basically trying to do is get it flat and square, and so I check it for that. Once I know that it's flat, then I take my number 4 and I'll set it at a really light shaving and kind of smooth everything out. And like I said, we'll talk about, or you'll see actually, what this piece of wood is for at a later date. I've got 2 or 3 of them I need to do. And so now I've laid out and marked the dovetails, and we're going to go ahead and cut them. And I start on one end of the board and I cut the side of the individual dovetail that angles in relation to the saw blade, and I'll cut each of those. And then I'll come back from the other side and cut the ones that are angled in the other direction. And it's just easier to do it that way because you're cutting one angle at a time across the board, and it's easier to keep that angle consistent if you're not switching back and forth on each dovetail. Just cut them straight across the board one way and straight across the other. And now I'll take a coping saw and cut out the waste. This just saves a lot of chisel work. And I should have dropped the piece down lower in the vise to cut the dovetails and to cut this waste out. There would be less movement and everything would be more stable, but this is alright. It's just I should have dropped it. Now we're cutting out the waste. And you need a sharp chisel for this. This is pine. And if you cut the end grain, you're alright. But if your chisel is not sharp enough, it'll actually crush the fibers in the end grain. I did that on the case for this because my chisels were not quite sharp enough. So I went back and made them sharper. And they're working well now. Now you see this right here. This is bad technique. My fingers are in front of that blade. Now it looks like they're safe because I'm cutting into that piece and it's lower than my fingers. You're going to find out here in just a few minutes, just a few seconds, that is actually a bad idea. I could have cut this out of the video, but I'm using unsafe technique, and it's important to me that you see that it is not safe. I have a disclaimer on my site that I'm not teaching safe technique and that you're responsible for your own safety. You need to see and understand why. Just a split second is all it takes. See my hand, my right hand? Watch. Uh-huh. Not good. Now, I don't start bleeding immediately. It takes me a bit. But that's a deep cut. But it could have been a lot worse. And it still can be if I don't watch what I'm doing. So never follow me. Now let me go get a Band-Aid. Alright, we're back. Now you see that? I made a mistake, and instead of cutting the waist out, I cut the dovetail out there. So I've got to deal with that because I don't want to remake this whole chisel rack, and I'll show you in a bit how we do that. But I'm just going to continue on removing the waist portions, folks. And hey, you know, I marked the waist portions and still cut the dovetail. So you got to stop and think when you're doing this. It's really easy to do. So I'm just going to remove the rest of the waist. And then I'm going to take and just cut that whole shoulder pin, half pin off and cut all the way down to that second dovetail. And I'll just use 3 dovetails on this rack when I dovetail it into the case. And it'll just be when I look at it, I'll cut the same on the other side so they're even, but when I look at it, it'll remind me. That's a good thing. Clean that up a bit with a chisel. There again, cutting toward myself. I should have flipped the piece around in the vise. I tell you, like my mom used to tell me, don't do as I do, do as I say. Just don't, you know, use me as an example of safe or even good technique because I'm just learning. Now I cut the shoulder off the other side, the half pin, for the half pin, and clean that up. And this is pretty much it. I'm going to mark the location for the pins, for the dovetails to be cut out. And that's all I can do for today. God bless you. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you guys later.